Okay, so what I use is Sally Hansen Hard as Nails for my blue top coat, and the color is Sturdy Sapphire. Sapphire is my birthstone, so this and it's kind of, I like this particular shade because if you can see, it kind of has a shimmer to it, and it just adds a little bit of no work detail, right? It adds, you don't have to put any extra sheen coat over top of this to make it shine. You just have this little bit of shimmer to the bottom of the shoe, and it just adds a little bit of something extra on it. And I usually get 2 or 3 of them because they're small bottles. They're only about 13.3 milliliters. They're not like your standard 15 milliliter bottle. So I usually get a couple of them and buy them in bulk if you plan on making multiple pairs of these, because you want them all to be similar in the way that they are painted, same texture of the nail polish, same formula of the nail polish, so that, and use all the same products every single time so that you don't run into any snags. One mistake I made at the beginning of doing these is I said, enamel works, what about gel, right? I had way more gel polish than I had regular enamel, and it was a nightmare. The stickers didn't come off the gel. It was just a mess. So regular fast dry enamel works best. And also the benefit to this is you don't have to cure, which can be challenging if you're not set up as a nail tech, which I am for the most part. I just have a UV light, but I don't have to cure these, the white or the blue. I don't have to cure these. They just, you let them dry. I give it about an hour typically once I'm done all my coats, so that they really pop. You know, they really, stickers come off easy, all of that. However, I do put a top coat once I'm finished pulling off all of these stickers and I've corrected any little imperfections in the stars. I do use a gel top coat. Not sure which brand I'm going to use today, but I do use a gel top coat, and I cure that because that makes these soles hard as nails, absolutely hard as nails. You won't be able to, I mean, you'll scratch them if you walk in them, but I also buy a like Louis Vuitton shoe protector. You probably have seen them on red bottoms. You can buy them on Amazon for a couple of bucks. They're just stickers that you, 3M stickers, you cut out to the shape of the bottom of the sole and slap them on. They're clear, so you can see all of the embellishments without the soles getting torn up and your artwork getting torn up. So I'm gonna start to paint these, and obviously shake your bottles really well for regular enamel. Some people roll them. These bottles are a little hard to roll because they're square and not rounded, but I'll show you what I do. And I'll start with the top, and I usually, what I'll do is get one shoe completely ready with stickers and my blue nail polish, and paint the blue, and then let that dry, and then go work on my second shoe, just so we're maximizing our time here. Hopefully you can see that. So I start with, and you gotta work with a little bit of nail polish at a time because it's quick dry nail polish, right? So you don't want like lines or anything from where you dumped the nail polish. You need to be able to move really quickly. And one of the great things about, you know, prepping correctly, right? You prep with the blue tape, blue masking tape for, you know, painter's tape. You prep with that, and you do a really good job with prepping for that, so that you can be messy with the nail polish. You know, you can be a little messy around those edges and it's not going to harm the shoe at all. So I just do, and I just go right back in. And I've used other brushes. I've used other brushes before. Actually, in one of the videos that I made for this pair, while doing the white, you may have noticed that I used a regular crafting brush. It was a blue handle with yellow bristles, you know, something you get in the dollar store. And I've done that. The problem is, and what I found, is that nail polish brushes apply the nail polish much more evenly than anything than you can get in the store, right? So I sometimes slap on a first coat with a regular brush. And then when I do some of these fine detail type things, I tend to use the nail polish brush that came with the bottle. And you know, what's the difference? It's already got polish on it. You don't have to worry about damaging any of your own brushes that you might have at home. So, and it just goes on a lot smoother. Now you want to make sure you're getting in that crease, right? This crease, this teardrop crease. You want to make sure you get in there and you don't miss any spots. And like I said, just a little bit at a time. And this one's going to drip because I'm on an angle, right? So I want to make sure I only use a little bit there so it doesn't drop too fast. And I want to just go over these stars really lightly. You don't want to press too hard. And don't worry if you don't get every single little spot on the first coat, because you're going to do 2, sometimes 3 coats of this because of how transparent it is, right? This is more of, it has almost like a jelly effect that you would see in most gel polishes, you know, some of those clear translucent jelly polishes. But it will darken, I promise. It will darken with every coat that you do. So I'm just going to go through and make sure I got my little sole crease there. And this nail polish, this blue, is way more forgiving than that white. That creamy white I did earlier. Whew, that dried so fast. And, you know, great when you're doing nails. When you're doing nails, that's wonderful. But when you're trying to do actual art with it, it makes it challenging. But like I said, you can't use gel in a situation like this. If I use gel and then I cured these stars with the blue polish on top of it, you'd never get the stars off. And I know from experience that that will happen. So, the first time I made these, it was just kind of a very, just the idea popped in my head and I said, how cool would it be? You know, we see all these Batman shirts and Spider-Man shirts and they're always in the boys section and all of that. And yeah, there's female superheroes, right? That we see in the girls section and in the women's section sometimes at different department stores. But when have you ever seen a shoe, right? And shoes are life, right? Shoes are life. So when have you ever seen a real cool pair of shoes for an adult female, right? Not just a little girl who loves Captain Marvel or Wonder Woman or Batgirl or whomever. When was the last time you saw a shoe that you could actually functionally wear that made us feel like the powerful women that we are, right? We're all superheroes. Whether you're a mom, whether you're a teacher, or sheesh, a single female. I'm a single female and I still feel like Wonder Woman. You know, we do a lot. We do a lot. We contribute a lot to the world. And I just feel like we should be represented. We should feel empowered. And sometimes our shoes are one way to express ourselves, right? And our powerful nature. And how cool would it be to kind of combine that superhero shiro, if you will, the shiro factor? How cool would that be to incorporate that into our wardrobe? Really stand out. So I know I didn't videotape putting the stars on the heel, but I like those to be centered all the way down. They don't exactly fit with the full pattern. It's not exactly centered right here at the crease, but I think it's more important. I chose to center the stars all the way down the back of the heel. All right, so here's the first coat. I'm gonna let that dry, and I'll probably just quickly apply the second coat in a few minutes and then show you the finished product.